Welcome to another deep dive. I'm Lex,
And I'm Vera.
your hosts from the Excel Edge podcast show.
We're so glad to have you with us, especially our fellow Filipinos.
Yeah, especially those of you out there thinking about buying your first home.
Or maybe you're already a property investor.
Yeah, and you're looking to really grow your portfolio strategically.
Well, this deep dive is for you.
It really is.
We know firsthand that navigating the Philippine real estate market
Oh, yeah.
can be a lot sometimes.
Definitely a lot to take in.
So today we're going to break down a really valuable resource.
Okay, sounds good.
It's called the Philippine Housing Roadmap 2025-2040.
Okay, 2025 to 2040, that's looking pretty far ahead.
It is, and this roadmap was put together by the Center for Research and Communication.
Okay,
It worked with some major players in the housing sector.
makes sense.
So we've got the Subdivision and Housing Developers Association, or SHDA.
Okay, I've heard of them.
They represent the private developers.
Right.
And then there's the Organization of Socialized and Economic Housing Developers of the Philippines.
Okay, so OSHDP?
Yep. And of course, the National Real Estate Association, or NREA.
Got it.
And last but not least, the Chamber of Real Estate and Builders Associations, Inc., or CREBA.
Okay, so these are like the big leagues?
Exactly. These groups are really shaping the future of housing in the Philippines.
So what's the plan for today? What are we focusing on with this roadmap?
Our goal is to really distill the most important insights,
Yeah.
the stuff that directly impacts you, our listeners.
Right, whether they're looking to buy their first home.
Exactly, or expand their investments.
We want to give everyone a clearer picture of where the market's heading.
Absolutely.
And just so everyone knows, here at Excel Edge Realty,
Yes.
our bread and butter is mid-price to high-ticket properties.
That's our specialty.
But the insights we'll cover today are valuable no matter what segment of the market you're interested in.
For sure.
And hey, if you want to learn more about Excel Edge Realty, you can find us at www.exceledge.com/talk.
All right, let's jump into the roadmap.
Okay, let's do it.
So first up, the big picture.
Okay, the big picture.
The roadmap projects a pretty impressive GDP growth,
Impressive. How impressive are we talking?
6 to 8% annually
Okay, that's pretty solid.
over the next 2 decades.
Okay, so long-term growth.
Exactly. And with that level of growth,
Yep.
the Philippines could actually reach high income status.
Wow, high income status.
Yeah, by the 2040s or 2050s.
That's pretty amazing.
It is for investors, this kind of growth
Yeah.
means potentially higher rental yields,
Okay, I see that makes sense.
especially in those up-and-coming business districts.
Right, because as companies grow.
Exactly. They need more space.
Right.
And for first-time buyers, this growth signals that their property could appreciate over time.
So potentially a really good investment.
Exactly.
But hold on a second.
Yeah,
The roadmap also talks about income inequality.
that's right. It's not all sunshine and roses.
Right, so even with this strong economic growth,
Yeah.
not everyone benefits equally.
Precisely. The roadmap points out that even with rising average incomes,
Okay.
a significant portion of Filipino households could still struggle financially.
Right, especially when it comes to housing.
Exactly. That's why it's so important for our listeners to remember that
Yeah.
affordability is key,
Absolutely.
even with the possibility of high income status down the line.
Okay, so don't get ahead of yourselves.
Right. Focus on areas and property types that fit your budget now,
Yeah, that makes sense.
while keeping an eye on potential future growth.
So basically be smart about it.
Yes, exactly.
So with all that in mind, what's the main goal of this housing roadmap?
It's pretty clear the roadmap is laser focused on
Yeah.
meeting the housing needs of lower income households.
Okay, so that's socialized and economic housing.
Exactly. And to understand the scale of this challenge, you have
Yeah.
to look at the numbers.
Okay, let's hear them.
In 2023, the poverty rate in the Philippines was about 22.4%. That means 16.5% of Filipino households were living in poverty.
Wow, so that's a lot of families who need affordable housing options.
Exactly. So the roadmap outlines some strategies to address this.
Okay, so what are they planning to do?
Well, first off, they're talking about increasing the government budget,
Okay,
specifically for projects that help marginalized sectors.
so more money for affordable housing initiatives.
Exactly. And that can mean new opportunities for partnerships.
Okay, interesting.
Or at least it shows a shift in the market that investors should pay attention to.
So basically keep an eye on where the government is putting its money.
Precisely.
What else is on the agenda?
They're also considering responsive price ceilings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what does that mean?
It means that the price limits for certain housing categories
Yeah.
could be adjusted more frequently
Okay, I see.
based on things like regional costs and income levels.
So basically making sure the price ceilings are realistic.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
And to encourage developers to build more affordable housing.
Yeah. They're talking about offering income tax holidays.
Okay, so tax breaks for developers who focus on affordable housing.
Exactly. It's all about incentives.
Right. Making it more financially attractive for them to build what's needed.
Exactly.
So these price adjustments and tax breaks
Yeah.
could really influence where and what kind of properties are being developed.
Absolutely. That's something for our listeners to keep in mind.
Okay, noted.
And then there's the 4PH program.
Okay, remind us what that is again?
Sure, it's the Pambansang Pabahay para sa Pilipino.
Okay, the National Housing Program.
Exactly. It's all about building more affordable housing units to reduce the backlog.
Right.
And the roadmap suggests that improving this program is crucial.
So how are they planning to improve it?
Well, they're talking about streamlining the application process
Okay, that would make things easier.
and potentially offering better incentives for developers to participate.
So basically making it more attractive for everyone involved.
Exactly. And for investors,
Yeah.
a more efficient 4PH program could mean clearer ways to collaborate with the government
Okay, that's interesting.
or a better understanding of where those future housing developments will be concentrated.
So valuable information for investors.
Definitely.
You also mentioned something about REITs earlier.
Oh, yes, REITs. Those are real estate investment trusts.
Okay, remind me what those are again.
Sure, they're basically companies that own, operate, or finance income-generating real estate.
Okay.
They allow individuals to invest in real estate without actually having to manage properties.
So kind of like a hands-off way to invest in real estate?
Exactly. You earn dividends without the hassle.
Okay, I see.
And the roadmap talks about expanding these kinds of financing mechanisms.
So making it easier for people to invest in and finance housing projects?
Exactly.
So potentially more funding available and more accessible investment options.
Precisely.
What about direct assistance for home buyers?
Oh, yeah. They're also looking at direct subsidies,
Okay, what kind of subsidies?
specifically interest and loan subsidies.
Okay, so basically helping people afford those mortgage payments.
Exactly. It's all about making socialized, economic, and low-cost housing truly attainable.
Right, because sometimes even with low-cost housing, those mortgage payments can still be a stretch.
Absolutely. These subsidies help bridge that gap.
So a real lifeline for those who need it most.
For sure.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about affordable housing,
We have.
but what about the overall economic climate?
Good point. Let's zoom out a bit.
Okay, zoom out.
The roadmap predicts a low inflation rate for 2025.
Okay, low, how low?
Less than 3% on average.
Okay, that's pretty low.
And low inflation could lead to lower interest rates.
Okay, so good news for borrowers,
Exactly.
including those looking to buy a home.
Exactly. It could make those mortgage payments much more manageable.
Makes sense.
And get this,
Yeah.
the roadmap even suggests that the Philippines might partially decouple its interest rate policy from the U.S. Federal Reserve.
Wow, so we might not be so tied to U.S. interest rates anymore.
Exactly. That could give our central bank more flexibility
Okay.
to keep those borrowing costs down.
So potentially even more good news for borrowers.
Absolutely.
Now the roadmap also puts things into historical perspective.
It does. It compares the Philippines' growth to other Asian economies.
Interesting. What's the takeaway there?
Well, while the Philippines has had steady single-digit growth,
Yeah.
it hasn't seen the double-digit growth rates of countries like China, South Korea, or Thailand.
Oh.
And one of the big differences
Yeah.
is that those countries saw huge reductions in poverty,
Okay.
down to single-digit levels.
Which the Philippines is still working towards.
Exactly.
So what drove that rapid growth in those other countries?
Well, a big part of it was foreign direct investments, or FDIs,
Okay.
and significant government spending on infrastructure.
Got it.
They also focused on developing their agricultural sectors for export early on.
Interesting. So a different approach.
Yeah.
How about the Philippines? What's been driving our growth?
It's been mainly driven by consumption spending.
Okay, so what people are buying.
Exactly. And the services sector.
Right, so different drivers.
Exactly.
Now, the roadmap also mentions OFW remittances and the BPOIT sector.
Oh, yeah. Those are huge for the Philippines.
Right, they bring in a lot of foreign currency.
Exactly. But the roadmap also suggests that
Yeah.
we need to diversify our growth drivers
Oh, I see.
to achieve that really rapid and inclusive growth.
So not just rely on remittances and BPOIT.
Exactly. We need to attract more long-term investments,
Okay.
particularly in things like infrastructure.
Makes sense. So looking ahead, what kind of economic shifts are we expecting?
Well, the services sector is still going strong,
Okay,
likely to make up 60 to 65% of the economy.
so still a major player.
Absolutely, with areas like retail trade digitalization and finance leading the way.
Okay, so those are the areas to watch.
But here's the interesting part.
Yeah.
The industry sector is projected to grow significantly too,
Okay, how significantly?
to reach 30 to 35% of the economy.
Wow, that's a big jump.
It is. They're expecting huge investments in construction, energy infrastructure, and agribusiness-related manufacturing.
Okay, so a lot of industrial development on the horizon.
Exactly. And for investors, this is key.
Yeah.
Because as these industries grow and move beyond Metro Manila,
Yeah.
there's going to be a surge in demand for housing in those areas.
So basically follow the industry and you'll find the real estate opportunities.
Exactly.
Speaking of real estate opportunities,
Yes.
the roadmap highlights some regions that are expected to grow faster than NCR.
Right. It's not just about Metro Manila anymore.
So which regions are we talking about?
Well, they specifically mention Calabarzon, Central Luzon, Western Visayas, and Davao.
Okay, so those are the regions to watch.
Exactly. They're projected to see faster economic growth than NCR.
Okay, and what does that mean for real estate?
It often leads to more urbanization.
Right, as more people move to those areas.
Exactly. And that means greater potential for property value appreciation.
So a good opportunity for investors.
Absolutely.
Were there any other regions that stood out in the roadmap?
Yes. They also highlighted some regions with really strong recent growth,
Okay.
like the Cordillera Administrative Region or Carcar,
Okay.
the Ilocos Region, and the Cagayan Valley.
Got it. So those regions are worth keeping an eye on too.
Exactly. They might not be growing as fast as the first four,
Yeah.
but they've got good momentum.
Okay, so it seems like growth is spreading beyond NCR.
It is, and that's driving urbanization in these key regions.
Okay, so who's driving this demand?
Well, the roadmap points to a growing number of households.
Okay, so more people, more demand for housing.
Exactly. They project a jump from 26.3 million households in 2021
Okay.
to 33 million by 2050.
Wow, that's a lot of new households.
It is, and there's another trend.
Yeah.
More and more households are relying on wages and salaries as their primary income source.
Okay.
And that means they're
Mhm.
more vulnerable to economic ups and downs.
Right, things like inflation or job losses can really impact their ability to afford housing.
Exactly. So this shift could lead to a greater need for more affordable and secure housing options.
So developers and investors need to pay attention to these changing needs.
Absolutely.
Now let's talk about infrastructure.
Okay.
The government has been really focused on that lately.
They have build, and all that.
Exactly.
Okay.
So what does the roadmap say about the future of infrastructure development?
Well, it emphasizes that the government is committed to it for the long haul.
Okay, so more infrastructure projects on the way.
Exactly. They see it as crucial for creating long-term value in the property market.
Okay, I see that.
And they believe that once many of these projects are completed after 2030,
Yeah.
we could see economic growth really take off,
Okay.
potentially even reaching double-digit rates nationwide.
Wow, that would be huge.
It would, and that kind of growth would almost certainly boost property values across the country.
Right, because better infrastructure makes areas more accessible and desirable.
Exactly, but there's a potential snag.
Oh, what's
The roadmap mentions that our high debt-to-GDP ratio could limit how much the government can spend on infrastructure.
Okay, so funding could be an issue.
It could be, which is why the roadmap also highlights the importance of attracting foreign direct investment.
Right, to help fund these projects.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground today.
We've really dived deep into this housing roadmap.
We've looked at the potential for economic growth, the focus on affordable housing.
We talked about strategies, macroeconomic trends, historical comparisons, growth drivers.
Regional shift, demographics, and the role of infrastructure.
It's been a whirlwind.
It has, but it paints a fascinating picture.
It does. The Philippine property market is dynamic and full of potential.
But as we've seen, there are also challenges to consider.
Absolutely. Things like income inequality and housing affordability.
So what's the key takeaway for our listeners?
Well, I think it's all about understanding the bigger picture.
Okay.
Pay attention to those regional growth trends.
Yeah, especially outside of NCR.
Exactly, and keep track of those infrastructure projects.
Because those are the areas where you might find the best opportunity.
Exactly.
And if you're interested in exploring the mid-price to high-ticket property market,
Yes.
don't forget to visit us at www.exceledge.com/IA1FH.
We're here to help you navigate this exciting market.
Absolutely. And if you enjoyed this deep dive,
Yeah.
Make sure to hit that follow button.
So you don't miss our future episodes.
And please share this with anyone else who might find it valuable.
We love spreading knowledge.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.
See you next time.